All right, how's it going? I hope your day's been well. My name is Mitchell Roshan. I'm a second-year student at Niagara College. I'm enrolled in the Honors Bachelor of Business Administration program, specializing in international commerce and global development. This video is a one-take chapter summary for the supplementary reading called Homo Deus. The chapter is titled The Ocean of Consciousness. This video is being prepared for anyone to watch, but specifically for my professor, Professor Stefan Johnson. He teaches this course, which is Global Development 2, and he teaches at Niagara College and Brock University. So here's the beginning of my summary. Homo Deus Chapter 10 is titled The Ocean of Consciousness, and it runs from page 409 to page 427. For reference, the only piece of data in this summary is Chapter 10 itself from Homo Deus. The following chapter in Homo Deus, Chapter 11, discusses the religion known as data religion, which argues that humans have completed their task and should pass the torch on to new entities, such as non-conscious forms of intelligence. Techno-humanism, which is what the Ocean of Consciousness discusses, is the much more conservative option, which agrees that humans have served this purpose, but it believes that humans can continue to be the apex of creation by using technology to create what's known as Homo Deus, a new human species. Homo Deus would still have humanoid features, but would have technological upgrades to physical and mental abilities such as strength, flexibility, and mental processing capacity or speed. The hope is that by technologically upgrading Homo sapiens into Homo Deus, humans can continue to hold their own against new, highly sophisticated, non-conscious intelligence forms that challenge human dominance on Earth. The first part of the chapter is labeled Gap the Mind, and it discusses that despite our desire to upgrade the human mind to compete with non-conscious intelligence, we still do not really understand the mind on a scientific level. We do not know how to fabricate or create consciousness or what leads evolutionary to the emergence of our minds as they are today. We as humans don't understand what consciousness really is. There's nowhere we can point and say, bam, that's consciousness in our head. It's a really interesting concept. A very similar way to look at this is how there are spectrums of light and we can't see the entire spectrum. We can only see certain aspects of the spectrum of light, and just like with light, so are mental spectrums, and we can only see certain mental spectrums. The two sections of mental states that we can see are the subnormative and the weird. Weird refers to Western, educated, industrialized, rich, and democratic societies, which are the only groups that scientists have conducted relevant research on. This is extremely underrepresentative as humanity as a whole, obviously. Humanity is made up of tons of different types of people, not just American psychology students. According to the chapter, 2/3 of people who were sampled for what was called the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology of American Psychology Students were American psychology students themselves studying in Western universities. This can be found on page 413 of the chapter. The data would likely drastically change if you included those from Eastern nations where levels and methods of education, wealth, and industrialization are far different, even considering different experiences, different struggles, different levels of poverty, all leading to varying mental states across a spectrum we as humans haven't even tried to understand because of who we've studied in regards to trying to understand it. Even if we were to travel the globe and study every single community, every single civilization, the likelihood that we will understand the mental spectrum and the concept of consciousness after that is very limited. Gap the Mind also discusses other mental spectrums humans could not comprehend even if we tried, such as one certain animals experience, like bat echolocation. Rather than through sight, bats see the world through chirping high-pitched sounds to reflect off of objects, and they can see those the creations of those vibrations back to them. Kind of with the way that bats use a frequency of sound, there are many frequencies of sound that bats and humans can't hear. The frequencies that bats use are too high for humans to hear naturally. And a concept to kind of bridge your understanding, asking a sapien to explain bat echolocation is as pointless as asking a blind person to explain sight. There are different spectrums that we can't understand no matter how much we really do try to understand them. The second part of the chapter is labeled I Smell Fear, and it discusses the factors associated with medicine being increasingly focused on improving the health of the healthy rather than curing the sick. It's kind of like the big old debate of if the cure of cancer is actually out there or not. Despite humanity grappling with widespread global mental illness, medical professionals, rather than curing these people, still wish to upgrade the human mind to be normal, despite many of us honestly being subnormal. Humanity has the technology to upgrade the human mind, but because of lack of direction on how to use it, our limited understanding of consciousness makes it nearly impossible to use this technology. In hindsight, evolution has occurred without a clear sense of direction like we desire in order to use this technology. For thousands of years, our minds have reshaped according to our needs, including the ones of animals. For example, humanity's expansion into cities has mean that we've expanded to cities for greater collective cooperation, but the reasoning behind that has led to a lot of our previous strengths, like our sense of smell or our sense of strength, to deplete as we've grown into greater cooperation collectively. Like, for example, in cities, we haven't needed a sense of smell. We have public health guidelines. So why would we still have a sense of smell when we can walk into a grocery store and not think about what we pick up? We pick it up, we know it's safe because there's public health guidelines. As hunter-gatherers, we always needed to be aware of what smelled wrong or what tasted wrong in order to ensure what was safe for our consumption in order for our survival. I Smell Fear also discusses what's known as fears of missing out. Humanity has collectively organized itself for greater cooperation in cities, but our lack of need for senses for survival have meant our ability to focus has significantly depleted. For example, it's easy for us to hop on a public transit or a personal car and go across town and visit our friend and have a visit. But once we're actually there visiting our friend, our ability to pay attention to them solely and have a productive conversation is very limited because of the fear of missing out, the FOMO that we have of all that information on our phone through Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. There's just so much information. We have more choice to pleasure and happiness than ever before, but our ability to make choices and choose what will bring us happiness or pleasure has never been worse. We have more choice, but our ability to choose is significantly worse. Finally, the final part of the chapter is called The Nail on Which the Universe Hangs, which discusses the sanctification of human will above all else. Human will is important. It guides our thoughts and day-to-day desires. However, what occurs when technology allows us to alter and reshape those very desires themselves? And that's a very interesting concept of trying to alter biological human will with technological non-human upgrades. Unlike humanism, technological progress doesn't really care for the imaginary human will or inner voice that we experience due to consciousness. It really only cares for progression itself. Feelings do not matter, but results do. And as humanists and techno-humanists are spending time having philosophical debates regarding morality in regards to this, technological progression pays simply no attention and continues to produce results. Humanity really better worry less and produce before non-conscious intelligence kinds of takes its shine and replaces it. Techno-humanism also faces a massive dilemma, viewing human will as the most important thing while using non-conscious intelligence to alter and reshape that will, almost in a way to control it. For techno-humanism to succeed, it probably needs to sever itself from emotional desire as the source of meaning and authority in order to create results. And the religion that's discussed in Chapter 11, data religion, does not view these things as the source of meaning and authority. It views data as the ultimate viewpoint of authority. So it's known as data religion or dataism, and it doesn't really venerate fictional gods or venerate humans as the most important thing. It venerates information, data above all else, which is what Chapter 11 discusses. But Chapter 10, as we just discussed, is about techno-humanism. So I hope you learned something about techno-humanism in this one-take Chapter 10 review about the ocean of consciousness from Homo Deus, and I hope you really enjoyed. Have a wonderful day.